driving. Maybe nobody see ferried, right? But it's important to note that this summit that we have in here today, the Gender Summit Africa, as Elizabeth said, is not your usual conference, but one that is going to call for action. And so for me, yesterday, during the discussions, the panel discussions, the keynote talk, I was looking towards hearing the call for actions, the things that we need to do. And a number of them came out, right? I was telling Odelia, who moderated the first plenary with a high-level ministerial, that I love the way she was engaging them, because often there's a saying when you are like it's a wuchasa, when you are creating a path, you don't know, in our traditional sense, like you go to the farm, it's all bush, so you are using the cutlass, normally the farmers, to reach their farm or go, they use the cutlass and be cutting, and you don't know that you are just not going straight because you're just doing this. And so you need the person behind you or others who are watching to tell you that the path that you are creating is not straight. And so for these people that we had, like the high level, and then the policy makers and the decision makers, you are really creating a path, but you need us, or you need these sort of forums to tell you whether the path is straight or not. And so I want to see that we get there. The conversation today, I know, would be enriching, as Odelia said. And let's keep engaging each other. The whole day's event hopefully will end by 7:30. There is an exciting dinner afterwards. Please don't leave, because we really worked hard to get an all-female band to play. Yes. So everybody will be playing the saxophone, the drums, the guitar, the piano, everything. They are all female and they sing. So it's a full day, 7:30, hopefully we end, and with a joyous dancing, put on your dancing shoes. I'm going to have to look for flats ones later. So please enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Adelaide. Going straight to an address that will be done by Mr. Hans Stutz-Ball, who's the Acting Director, European Commission, and he's the DG for International Partnerships. Is the video ready?
Let me begin by saying how delighted I am to address today this diverse scientific community to kick off the 23rd Gender Summit. Today's summit is taking place at a moment where people in Europe and in Africa are facing huge geopolitical challenges. Unfortunately, these challenges are discriminatory, with women disproportionately left behind. To give you an idea, the World Economic Forum estimates that it will now take 100 more years before the pandemic to close the gender gap worldwide. 130 years in total. UNDP also calculated that an estimated 80% of the people displaced by climate change are women. Women and children living in poverty are also up to 14 times more likely than men to be killed by climate-related disasters such as hurricanes or floods. As such, gender equality and women's empowerment are top priority in all EU external actions. We believe that we must mainstream gender into all our programs. As such, in November 2020, the EU adopted its first ambitious agenda for gender equality and women's empowerment in EU external action, the EU Gender Action Plan. The GAP calls for accelerating progress in a number of areas. First of all, fighting gender-based violence, promoting the economic, social and political women and girls. It puts a renewed emphasis on universal access to healthcare, sexual and reproductive health and rights, on gender equality in education, as well as on promoting equal participation, leadership in driving green, resilient and inclusive development. Our ambition is to have a gender equality as a fundamental element in at least 85% of the programs we are funding worldwide by 2025. In 2021, we have already reached 70%. We are on the right track, but we still have work to do together with our partners at national, regional and continental level. We need to ensure that women are included in the decision-making process and that strategies and agreements on climate-related issues are more gender responsive at every level. These are the objectives we have set out. Since more than 2/3 of man-made greenhouse gas emissions come from the energy sector, it goes without saying that promoting clean energy is a top priority. Here, women have a particularly important role to play when it comes to ushering a just energy transition and benefiting from the system changes. From consumer power and behavioral change to driving a renewable energy workforce, women's inclusion and leadership is vital for driving the policy changes that are required. Women's economic empowerment opportunities are present in the transition from reskilling and upskilling workers to become green entrepreneurs. Moreover, this transition provides the opportunity to invest and develop local skilling workers to become green entrepreneurs. Moreover, this transition provides the opportunity to invest and develop local micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. However, today women are still underrepresented in the energy sector and are still facing barriers to engage as entrepreneurs. We realize this, and therefore in 2022 we adopted the Global Gateway Africa-Europe investment package, which include a strong focus on support to early stage businesses and young entrepreneurs, especially women in Africa. We do so, for instance, through the Team Europe initiative, investing in young businesses in Africa, but also our new program on women's economic empowerment and financial inclusion in sub-Saharan Africa. Finally, of course, the Africa-EU partnerships includes a strong cooperation in the fields of science, technology and innovation, and we are supporting gender equality in science and research in various ways. For example, with Horizon Europe, the Commission reaffirms its commitment to gender equality in research and innovation, making it a cross-cutting priority. Having a gender equality plan in place that meets a set of mandatory requirements for anyone wishing to participate in Horizon Europe. Once again, I would like to reiterate the urgency of ensuring gender equality in our partnership. We must ensure that this is not just mainstream throughout our actions, but central to our policy making. And
so by 2010, the IFC launched the green bonds and then decided to start looking at various economies that they will do that. So far, they've been able to set up 170 green bonds, and that is exciting because we need to be able to finance all these conversations through one way or the other. And in every single year, we want to be able to spend between $3 to $6 trillion dollars for conversations on climate, conversations on energy transition, and all of that. And so we need to also find innovative ways of doing that in Africa. And today, there's somebody prepared who's a consultant, who's actually been sharing perspectives on how to raise some of the funding internally so that we will be able to execute some of these things. With a round of applause, let's welcome Mr. Normand Michaud, who is the director at Econola, and that's in Canada, and also a consultant at SunRev Ghana, which is under the Energy Commission Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him.
Right. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for having me this morning. So yeah, my name is Norman Michaud. I'm the team leader of the SUNREF program here, which is one of the reasons I was asked here to come and talk about the financing of energy transition. So as was mentioned, the need for financing of energy transition is huge, right? We're talking just in Ghana, it's billions and billions of dollars. And where are we going to get this money is a big question. There are many different models for financing energy transition, and there's no one perfect model. For each country, there's going to need to be like a different model that will fit based on the country economical situation, based on the utility situation and the government. So there's no perfect model. There's a mix of models that we have to understand and see how we can apply them for Ghana, for example, and any other countries in Africa. Basically, what you're looking at is you have the financial model that are using international money only. Then you have models that are going to be a mix of international and national money from the government, for example. Then you have a mix with the private sector, the private banks, the private investor, the private fund. And then you have like companies that are willing to invest themselves to implement renewable energy with their own money. So there's a different mix out there. And when we talk about, for a country, there's going to be different situation on how developed the country is, basically. When you started, normally, most of the money comes from international donors, right? This is something that we've seen in many places, in which the German government, for example, will be the one investing to install 50 megawatt of solar power in the Volta region. So that's going to be like the basic, first involvement in terms of model for financing energy, renewable energy. But this is not sustainable. You cannot expect like the other countries to invest money and change change the energy transition for a whole country. So then we need to move to a system where the local government and the local private sector will be involved as much as possible, because they have to be the one investing money to make sure that the successful transition of energy transition. In terms of different models afterwards, like the banks have to be involved, and one of the things that we see and that is available right now, so I want to talk about, again, some of the options that are available right now and some of the options that are coming. So what we have right now is a model in which there are some international money coming in the country, but they are going through banks, because the goal here is to have the local bank work on energy transition up to a point where they will do it by themselves. So why I'm asked to be here is because of the SUNREF program, right? I'm the team leader of the SUNREF program. So a quick explanation on the SUNREF program. The SUNREF program is the financial tool by the French Development Agency. So they have it in many countries. This is not the first one, not the last one. Right now, there's also one in Tunisia and one in Nigeria. Basically what it does is they provide a line of credit for local banks, but that money can only be used for renewable energy. I say only, well, energy efficiency environmental project, let's say, but they call it green financing. So when they do that, we work with local banks, here SUNREF, as we have partnered with Callbank and GCB. And when we do that, we work with the banks on training them to better understand energy transition, the benefit of renewable energy, for example. How do you analyze those projects? How do you look at the risk? How do you understand the benefit for the clients and for the countries? And for a bank, it is important. So when you started, none of them had ever invested like a penny on renewable energy projects. For them, it's not that they didn't want to do it, they just didn't understand it. So for them, it was something, well, tell us like what you want to buy in terms of equipment, and we'll try to finance it. But when you do renewable energy, you need to understand how the revenue will come out of it, and how do you analyze cash flow for the next 20 years. So the first thing that we had to do was to work with them on that. So the credit line with SUNREF, we have like the support to the bank. We analyze with them the projects. We make sure that they understand it correctly, they see the benefit. we kind of, we reduce their risk, the technical risk, since they don't understand those projects. After working with us and understanding that, then for them the technical risk goes down, and this is what a bank likes to see. And then we have some grant money from the EU also. So this is how you make investment in energy transition a little bit more interesting at first. Right? You need to convince people to do it, right? So one of the ways to convince them to do it is that to have a product, a loan product that is cheaper than anything else. So you provide them like lower interest rate, grant money. So you go in the market and you convince them, like, instead of investing on doubling your production, the first thing you should do is reduce your operation costs by doing renewable energy. So this is something that is available right now in Ghana. And there are other products like this that are coming. We're only just starting. Like the money for the financing for the energy transition is starting right now. This is the first fully focused product on energy transition, I would say, in Ghana. And I know at least 3 other products that are coming, which are going to be similar. They're going to be working with the local banks. They're going to be providing interest rates that are lower than what you can get on the market right now. So this is one of the ways to do it. Afterwards, you will have like private sector getting involved a little bit more. There are investment funds, for example, for Africa that exist already. They are financing renewable energy. The thing is, they are financing huge projects. So it's not something that the normal companies can use. But in the future, there will be some more local funds like that that will be also able to finance projects directly. I don't want to talk only about the financing aspect since this is the Gender Summit, but I want to mention that when we talk about the financing models that are coming and the investment right now, the gender aspect of it is more and more important than before, and it's the focus now that we've never seen in the past. It is one of the aspects that right now, my company, we work as we mentioned earlier, as a consultant. So we work with the international donors to implement project like this, like financing, credit line, or financial product internationally or in specific countries. And for the last 2 years, I can tell you that any projects that we've done on financing had a component on gender equality. It's going to target gender equality in different ways. I mean, the Sunref program, for example, we are not focusing on gender equality in terms of who we lend the money to. What we've done instead for this program is that we've worked on gender equality with the banks. So part of the program that we're doing, I told you that we're training the banks, right? We try to make them understand about energy transition so they can, even if we stop Sunref, we want to keep them doing it and doing it more, right? And so we work with them in terms of doing a gender assessment of their company, basically. Understanding at a different level at Callbank and GCB, what's the proportion of women, men, who's doing what? At the higher level, what's the proportion? What are the barriers? I mean, why are we not seeing a balance? We're seeing a balance in some level and others not. So what's happening? So what are the barriers? What are the view of the different level on women and on men? Because it's always about understanding how each see each other and what can be done to make it clear. Because for the bank, a lot of the work that we've done is making them understand the benefit of gender equality in a company and in a bank also, in terms of, there are so much studies that shows, like for a company, sustainability, and in terms of culture, in terms of decision, in terms of profit, a company or a bank that has gender equality, that is more balanced in terms of gender, will always be more profitable. I mean, many of the studies have shown that. So for a bank, just understanding that it's important. And for them, they don't see, it's not something that they do consciously, right? They don't, I mean, for them, it's like, well, we have like different position, and so you need to work with them and talk with them about explaining why some of those positions are more difficult for women to get them, and what can be done internally at the bank level. So when we do a gender assessment, this is what we work with both banks to do it. Like give them a picture of what they have right now, where they are, giving them some barriers that have been noticed in their bank, telling them kind of some recommendations of what they can do to change and how they can improve. And most of them understood it, and they understood the benefit of it. So for the bank, this is how the program, the financial program that we have been focusing on the gender component. The other aspect was to work with them on the image that they're promoting, right? I mean, the banks are always promoting like advertisement, their TV, newspaper, and one of the things is that for a bank, they are willing to loan to anyone, right? As long as they will do their due diligence, of course. But for them, they want to lend to any sector, anyone, they don't really mind. As long as it's a good loan, they will do it. But understanding for them that if the image that you're promoting, it's always a man with a company doing, you know, a signature and shaking hands, it doesn't provide the image that their product are available for everyone. So they have to understand and see that the gender issue, not issue, but the gender balance or the gender equality is everywhere. So if it's a sector that for them it would be beneficial also. So they need to make sure that their marketing consider the gender aspect when they do something. So we had also some work working with them on assessing that and making them see this aspect of their company. And even explaining to them that even for a bank, you always look at the risk of everything, right? So if you want to do a loan for a company, the risk of it is something that you look first. And they have to understand also that the study in terms of gender equality, like companies that are